It's Friday, July 10th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley calls on government to impose stricter travel protocols and to test every visitor who passes through the Grantley Adams International Airport for COVID-19. He said the move was necessary, especially due to the fact that Barbados was opening its borders to visitors from the U.S., where the virus is rampant. Bishop Atherley said the protocol, as outlined by Tourism Minister Kerry Simmons, which would see visitors being tested 72 hours before their flight to Barbados, also needed to be revamped.
It is insufficient 3 days before a person departs place of origin to come to Barbados that person is tested 3 days prior to that. But what if the person then develops an awareness of the infection subsequent to those 3 days after having traveled here, or even on the flight coming down here? Then what is in place to make sure that the person is properly tested and so forth here? So those are the things of which we are concerned. The fact is that the epicenter of this thing is now resided or reposed in this part of the world. Much of our airline traffic will come out of North America, in particular the United States, and we would want to stress that we believe it is not sufficient to test people a few days just before they leave on a flight, because they can develop the infection, or the fact that they have the infection could come to light thereafter.
The Barbados Agricultural Society rubbishes suggestions that a 2-month suspension on the sale of imported chicken wings was done in the name of big business. On Wednesday, Anthony Wood, the former chairman of the Barbados Agriculture and Development and Marketing Company, accused the government of denying cheap chicken to working-class Barbadians and small businesses that rely on the state-owned enterprise for imported chicken wings. But BAS Chief Executive Officer James Paul maintained that the measure has been equally vital to small and large poultry producers, and he has again made a plea for long-term measures to protect what he described as a sensitive industry.
At the end of the day, with any suspension or ban, whatever you want to call it, I think the local poultry sector will benefit. In terms of large or small, I don't distinguish between the players in the industry. At the end of the day, we have an industry that's both price or both large and small players. And as far as that is concerned, once more local chicken is being sold, I think that is helpful. I can tell you that not only large players are impacted, but also small players, because I do know that if the volume of imports in any 1 month is too high, that even the small producers also complain in terms of having difficulty in getting their chicken sold. And we do have instances where small players have had difficulty in terms of selling their chicken in the market, where you have a great volume of imports.
Authorities are urging residents to play a greater role in ensuring that their surroundings are clean and safe as they prepare the country for the possibility of a severe weather system. It's coming from a minister in the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance, Peter Phillips, who has also called on members of the public to stop illegal dumping.
My simple plea will be to enlist Barbadians in helping us in terms of our flooding and so on in our preparation. I've said this many times before, but it is worth repeating again. We want you to help us by not dumping your old beds, stoves, all sorts of garbage within waterways. As a matter of fact, not even just within the waterways, along the streets in themselves, because the streets will be dirty. When the rain comes, it picks up all those containers, those plastic bottles, and everything, and it carries it wherever, and that as a result can block up drains and culverts and so on, and cause flooding to take place in various communities. So my simple appeal will be to Barbadians to help us in this cause as we prepare, as we're in the hurricane season, and stop the illegal dumping, stop all over the place in the gullies and the waterways and so on, and this would go a long way in mitigating against flooding and such like.
LIAT workers in Antigua have been given until Friday to agree to Prime Minister Gaston Brown's proposals to save the airline from liquidation by its shareholder governments. According to a senior government official, the proposals include, among other measures, the slashing of workers' pay by between one-third to a half. On Tuesday, Brown held talks with the opposition-aligned Antigua and Barbuda Workers' Union, but the union's General Secretary, David Messiah, would not divulge the details of the deliberations. The union also met with the workers behind closed doors. He said the union needs to involve all players in the consultation before any firm decision can be made on the government's options.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has written to CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Owen LaRock and Commonwealth Secretary General Baroness Patricia Scotland, inviting them to send election observers to the upcoming August 10 general election. We get more in this report from TV6 News.
The letter, according to the official statement, formally invites CARICOM and the Commonwealth to send election observer missions under its auspices to observe Trinidad and Tobago's processes and operations in the upcoming parliamentary elections, which will be held on August 10th. On Wednesday, opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar announced she had written to Prime Minister Rowley urging him to invite international observer teams to monitor the 2020 general election. In her letter, the opposition leader wrote that while the UNC acknowledges the ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic and the public health regulations that are currently in effect, her party is very concerned that measures are not in place to ensure citizens are able to exercise their franchise. In a Facebook post on Thursday, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar said Guyana shows foreign observers can be very vital in preserving a nation's democracy amid allegations of dangerous election rigging.
And finally, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to sweep across the world, there is a call for the international community to provide financial assistance and debt relief to Latin American and Caribbean countries, in particular small island developing states. The plea from United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres came in a video message for the launch of a policy brief on the impact of COVID-19 on Latin America and the Caribbean.
Greater international support is urgently needed. I've called for a rescue and recovery package equivalent to more than 10% of the global economy. Developed countries are doing it themselves with their own resources. For Latin America and the Caribbean, the international community must provide liquidity, financial assistance, and debt relief. Latin American and Caribbean countries, and in particular small island developing states, should not be excluded from global assistance. The international multilateral response needs to be extended to middle-income countries. We must also tackle the broader structural challenges. Building back better requires transforming the development model of Latin America and the Caribbean. In a region where inequality has become untenable, it means developing comprehensive welfare systems that are accessible to all.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.